All right. So let's start standing with our feet about hips width. And you'll know hips width if you make two fists and put them between your feet. That's roughly what the distance would be. Sometimes we have a very skewed opinion of our hips, and we stand like this or we stand like this. So you can measure it if you need. And then bring one hand to your chest, the other hand on top of that, and just close the eyes. Now let's just take a few breaths here. We're going to visualize the location underneath our hands about 2 inches inside. And today we'll do a bunch of back bends, and it might help if you feel stuck, which many of us do. Back bends are hard. You can again visualize that spot, breathe into it. And we want to use the breath to make life a little bit easier, make these asanas easier. Even if they're difficult physically, they don't have to be filled with angst or anxiety. Let's lower the arms and open the eyes. We'll reach up for an inhale. We'll grab the right forearm with the left hand. Just do a little pull over to the side. And as you're pulling, anchor through your right foot a little bit more and keep your right elbow back. So we're not holding forward in any way. We're just getting into the side body. We'll use an inhale to rise up, strong core muscles, and switch the hands. Right hand to left forearm, and just tilt over a little bit. I like to push the hips to the left just to exaggerate that stretch for the ribs, muscles between the ribs. Okay, let's use an inhale to rise up, release your arms, and we'll come to the top of mat, feet together, hands together. On your next exhale, lower your arms. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. We're just going to do a normal Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, halfway up. Stepward jump, chaturanga, exhale. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Now, if you ever have 10 minutes in a day for yoga and no more time than 10 minutes, you can just do a few Surya Namaskars, and that will pretty much address all the major muscle groups. It'll help you get into your breath. But a prerequisite for doing your 10 minutes is to know what a Surya Namaskar is. Okay, after your exhale, stepward jump forward. Inhale at the top. Fold, exhale. Rise up, inhale. And lower the arms, exhale. And that completes the first one. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway up. Flow back, chaturanga, exhale. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. And usually we stay here for 5 breaths. You can pedal out your feet if you have any tightness in the calves or hamstring. That's going to feel real good. Be pressing into your fingertips, your knuckles, your belly in. So it's not 5 breaths to just check out. You're still scanning your body and being present. After your next exhale, stepward jump forward. Inhale when you get there. Fold head toward shin bones. Inhale, reach for the ceiling. Arms by the side, Samasthiti, exhale. We'll just do one more Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway. Dump it back, chaturanga, exhale. Inhale, upward facing. Remember that spot 2 inches below your heart. Exhale and fold, or it is your heart mostly. 2 inches below where you had your hands, that breathing exercise. You need an extra mind game here, and the physicality of this is not enough. You could count how many seconds your breath is and try to make your inhales equal to your exhale. Okay. After your next exhale, step or jump forward. Inhale at the top. Exhale, head toward shins. Inhale to rise up. Arms by the sides, exhale. And we'll now stray from anything normal Ashtanga. Bend into the knees, reach up. We're going to stay here for a few breaths. Sink our weight into the heels, lift the chest a little higher. This would be the first breath of Surya Namaskar B, but we're not doing a normal Surya Namaskar B because this is improv and not a straight up Ashtanga series. So we have a little wiggle room for play. Let's fold as we exhale, straighten the legs. Inhale halfway up. Send the left leg back for a lunge. And keep your fingertips just in line with your right toe tips. Inhale to straighten your right leg as far as you can. Exhale to bend again. 2 more times like that. And let's keep the back leg super straight while we do this. I'm using my roommate's mat today, and it's so short compared to my normal mat. Okay, the next time that your knee is bent in front, lower the back heel so that you have heel to heel alignment. So you might have to move your ball of left foot out to the side a little more. Warrior 1 with holding opposite elbows. And we'll pull the elbows back a little bit, but lift the chest up. And if you had extra hands, I would have you put 2 hands on your chest and have 2 hands on your elbows. So just think of what it felt like to have the hands on your chest. Lift the chest up, breathe into the spot 2 inches below. Okay, hands to the floor. Exhale for chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Lift the heels for an inhale. Bend the knees. Exhale, jump it forward. Inhale when you get there. Fold, exhale. Bend the knees, Ustrasana again. This time, if you can, you'll keep your elbows where you had them before, but you'll bring your thumbs behind your neck. And you'll press your head into your forearms so that your neck is getting strong, but also you're still opening this whole tricep area through the armpits. It's a little odd. So if you're uncomfortable in any way, you could just reach up again. But this is a helpful chest opener, neck strengthener. Okay, let's reach up for the inhale. Fold forward for the exhale, straight legs. Halfway up, inhale, and send the right foot back to a lunge. Exhale. Straighten the left leg, inhale. Bend the left leg, exhale. 2 more times. So we're just getting into the hamstring, but really you're doing that every time that you're in a forward bend or a downward dog. Okay, warrior 1 for the feet. Heel to heel alignment, hold the elbows. Pull the elbows back. Chest up. And we'll keep the ears between the upper arms. So if you're a person with very open shoulders and you pull your arms back really far, you're also going to have to lift your chin and lean your head back a little bit. And it's not really just throwing your head back, It's more like the back of your head or the palate, like if you're talking about the back of your head, that would be moving back. So the crown of the head is not angled back. The back of your head is angled back. Okay, let's release the hand, step it back, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. We'll walk the hands to the feet. We're putting Vasisthasana, and if you need to bend your knees to get your grip, no problem. First two fingers and thumbs make a circle. Inhale, fold, exhale. We'll stay here for a few breaths. We're going to think of lifting the kneecaps up. So your quads engage. That's just going to get your legs a little bit straighter. And you'll push your feet through the floor. That's going to get your butt toward the ceiling. So it'll feel a little bit longer. If you're getting some extra length in your body. Okay, next inhale, we'll straighten the arms so the torso moves away from the thighs. Place the palms flat and walk to downward dog. When you get there, inhale, heels up. Exhale, bend the knees, jump forward. Inhale to straighter legs. Exhale to fold. Bend into the knees, Ustrasana. And let's straighten the legs. There's one little piece I want to discuss before we move on. So I'm just moving closer so you can see the elbows. So when I fold forward, my elbows are not going to be out here. I'm going to think of squeezing them into my legs so that they're hugging in and basically staying over the wrists. So I'm seeing on the camera some of you are out here somewhere. So be aware of that. Okay. And if that doesn't make sense, text me later and we'll talk more. Okay. Bend into the knees, Urdhvadanyarasana. Inhale. And we'll fold forward, exhale, squeeze your elbows just toward your legs. They're not really going to touch. Inhale halfway. Let's bring the hands in front of the feet about 12 inches for Bakasana. Lift the heels, put the knees onto the arms, shift the weight forward until you feel like your feet can come off the ground. Take 2 more breaths. And your elbows are just going to stay over your wrists, pretty much where they are now. Let's jump it back to chaturanga. Inhale for upward facing. And exhale for downward facing. Let's bring the right foot forward, warrior one. And we'll do what we did standing initially. We're going to hold the right forearm with the left hand and give a little tilt over to the left. And as you're doing this, your right hip is going to move down toward the floor. And you'll just wind up with a little extra side stretch. Take one more breath there. Let's bring it up and head over to the other side. And we're going to turn this into a deeper Psoas stretch. So we'll keep reaching to the right. We're going to smooth that left knee to the floor, so Anjaneyasana legs. And sink into the hips. They move toward the floor as we reach up and over. You can either keep your right hand on your left forearm, doing a little pull, or you can bring your right hand to the floor, then your left arm is responsible for its own reach, which might be difficult. Sometimes it's easier to kind of pull yourself into the pose. Okay, let's lower the left fingers. Find just a normal lunge, back knee up again, and turn it into a simple twist. Left hand flat, right hand up. And we'll try to stack our arms, stack the shoulders. Okay, nice. Let's unravel. We'll straighten that right leg just like you did before. Inhale. And bend it for an exhale. Just one more time like that, just like you did. This time when it's bent, we'll launch the back leg up for warrior 3. You can can keep your fingers on the floor. You can bring your hand to your right leg. You can reach your arms out to the side. Hands could be on your hips. You could do a prayer. Really, your hands, your arms are going to be your choreography. But we're going to point our left toes and reach with that leg. Let's lower fingertips down. Step the left foot to meet the right foot. Inhale. Fold, exhale. Bend into the knees. Ustrasana, inhale. Let's fold again to the exhale. Then practice bringing your elbows in a little bit. The weight is on your thumbs and pointers. We'll inhale halfway. Slide the hands forward. And we're going to go to tripod. If I do it from here, I'll end up on the floor. So I'm going to back up a little bit. So you might have to back up on your mat because you want your head on the mat. So we'll do Bakasana to tripod. So it's the same as what you did before to start. You'll be looking forward in your Bakasana. And you'll bend your elbows more. Drop your head. Crown of the head will land. And then you can lift your legs. Stay for as long as you want, and then vinyasa. Good. Miss a nook, elbows in a little bit more next time you're up in a tripod. Okay, left foot forward for warrior one. Inhale. On this side, our right hand is going to hold our left forearm, and we'll pull ourselves up and over. And you're not just pulling over, so the up is quite important too. And even if you don't really feel like going over, just going, ooh, is going to stretch out the muscles between the ribs, which are pretty important for twists, for back bends, for deep breaths. Okay, we'll keep our warrior one legs. We'll rise up and do the other side. Right arm up and over to the left. Ooh, tight side. And when you can, spin the right knee down so it's Anjaneyasana and try to take it a little bit further. And in Anjaneyasana, we're trying to bend our front knee a lot. It's tough because the right thigh ends up with a deep, deep stretch. So you do as much as you can. Decide, do you want to keep pulling on your top arm or do you want your left hand down? I need to keep pulling on it, otherwise I don't really feel the stretch as much because I can't get the reach by myself. Okay, and let's place the fingertips down. Find your lunge, back knee up, and into simple twist, left arm up. Good, lean that left shoulder back. Keep pressing the ball of your left foot into the ground. Just because you're leaning your left shoulder back doesn't mean that this left knee is moving around. Okay, let's unravel. Twice, we straighten the left leg for an inhale. We bend it again for the exhale. And this is to help us open the hamstring. Because a lot of the time going in and out of a pose is going to be easier than just staying in it. When you're ready, launch up to your warrior three. The legs basically make an L shape. And we just want that right leg hip height spiraling in, which is basically a fancy way to say that you're not lifting your right hip. Your right hip is just facing the floor. And if you want your right leg to be a little bit higher, you're going to use the inside seam of your pants to lift that leg up. Your inner thigh moves up, your outer thigh moves down. Ooh. I fell out of it. Okay. Fingertips down, right foot to beat left foot. Inhale. And let's fold, exhale, palms flat if possible, elbows over the wrists or thereabouts. Bend into the knees, Ustrasana. And let's just straighten the legs for a moment. Take a breath. Maybe put your hands on your chest again. You'll feel your heart beating a little while. So we went from the arm balance of Bakasana into headstand. Now we'll just also return to the arm balance. So let's bend into the knees, back up if you need to, reach up, and fold forward. Place your hand about 12 inches in front of your toes. You'll put your legs on your arms, shift your weight forward. So part of this is keeping your elbows over your wrists. And part of this is where are you putting your gaze? So when you're in headstand, obviously you're just looking back. As soon as you start to think about lifting your head off the ground, you got to straighten your arms and look forward. And they don't have, your arms don't have to straighten all the way. They just have to do as much as they can. So give it a try, whatever your level is. I'm going to watch. Your legs have to squeeze into your arms. Good. Keep looking forward. That's going to keep your elbows forward. Good. So Aga, try that one more time. And then once your head is up and you hit your arm balance, jump back to chaturanga. Okay, kind of sweaty. I think in the San Diego summer, I need to have a sweat rag on my mat. Okay. I'm going to grab a shirt because I don't have a rag. All right. So somehow get to down dog if you're not there already. And let's bring the right foot forward to the hands. Simple twist again. And just notice how you're stacking your arms. Also, your knee is over your ankle, so you're like stacking your shin. Let's do that same thing, except we're going to put the hand on the other side of the foot. So we have to first get our arm hooked, as we would a prayer twist. So the placement is the same. You can even stay in a prayer twist if you prefer. Otherwise, left hand down, right hand up. And it's sort of the same stack situation. It's just not as simple. That's the other name. Okay. Let's keep whatever twist you have. Just lower your back knee to the ground and reach your right hand for your left foot. So you'll have to use your hamstring to bring your foot in enough to actually grab it. A lot of work for that hamstring. You could always undo the twist if you have to. Take 2 more breaths. If you're holding your foot, bring your heel all the way to your butt, your left sitting bone. Good, and let's unravel and just step back, vinyasa. We'll bring the left foot forward. Simple twist to start. We need to make sure that we can breathe here, that there's no pain. Maybe you're dealing with an injury on one side. So to go further, I like to untwist, move the flesh of the thigh in, put the arm really high up. Just like you would if you're coming into prayer twist or bind twist or really anything. Then right hand down to the pinky toe side of the left foot, left arm up, look up. Keep the back leg really strong. Lisa, let's bring your right toes back a little more, like 2 inches. Yes. And then bring your heel forward 1 inch. Yes. Good. So that's perfect alignment for your foot. And now we're done with that. Let's put the back knee on the floor and find the back foot and pull it in. Oh gosh, tight side. You can think of bringing your chin toward your left shoulder. That might help you twist a little more in your shoulders, which makes it way easier to grab your foot. Okay, let's get out of there and vinyasa. You just worked the hamstrings a lot. Let's open them in Hanumanasana. Walk your hands to your feet. Slide your hands underneath, palms up, toes by wrists. Inhale, fold, exhale. So it's like what you did before when you were holding your big toe, it's just a little bit deeper. Let's straighten the arms for an inhale, walk into downward dog. Let's bring the right foot forward for triangle pose. So you can decide where your foot placement should be. It's probably not going to be right foot all the way forward like you would if you're coming into a warrior. Probably a little shorter than that. But you decide. There's lots of choices for your right hand. I'm going to go for big toe grip, first two fingers and thumbs. That's the traditional Ashtanga way. I like it because it helps me to get my right armpit away from that right hip and to lengthen the underside of the body. Because we want the spine to be pretty much reaching straight away without a curve. Okay. Let's rise up on an inhale. We're just going to pivot on the feet and go for the other side. And you've already decided on the stance length, so you don't have to really deal with where to put your foot. But you do have to deal with where to put your hand. Also, maybe you want to do something else with your top arm. You could reach it over the ear, you could reach it behind your back. What else? Inhale up, pivot around. This time, Ardha chandrasana. I'm just backing up so I don't end up off the camera screen. We'll lift that left leg off the ground. And we'll bring our right hand to our right ankle. Sometimes in Ardha chandrasana, you keep all 5 fingertips on the ground. But when you do fingertips on the ground, they're still very light. So if you want to keep doing that, that's fine. But play with lifting the hand up. Eventually, it's up enough to just make a little home on the ankle. Good. Let's untwist. To change sides, we're just going to land our left foot next to our right foot and then extend the right leg back. So we'll still be facing the front of the mat. It will help if you engage your left quads. It will help you to keep your balance and to get that left hip to move under you enough to get the hand up. Good. Let's unravel. We'll step the feet together. Inhale, halfway up. Fold, exhale. Bend into the knees. Bakasana, inhale. And let's just find a squat for the exhale. And in this squat, notice how easy it is to get your upper arms and your knees to be close together. So that is helpful in your Bakasana type of situations. So let's try the headstand thing again. But based on what I saw before, this time we're not going to lift our legs. We're going to keep our legs on our arms. We're just going to come into the arm balance, bend the elbows, lower the head, and then practice lifting the head and straightening the arms again. So I never let my legs come up to headstand. So give that a try. If that is easy for you, let your legs come up, lotus them up, and then lower them for Urdhva Dhanurasana. Good. So lifting the head also means you have to drag yourself forward. Your chest has to move forward. It's a bit of a doozy, yes. Good. So now carry, let your butt drop down a bit. And now pull your chest toward your kitchen. And if you're in lotus, it's the same situation with your arms and butt and all that. Good. And let's all somehow vinyasa out of there. Based on where you are, find a choreography that makes sense. And we'll meet in downward dog. Okay, right foot forward. Let's put our right hand on the big toe side of the foot for a variation on Prasaritas. We'll morph this into something else momentarily. Let's just getting into that right hip quite a bit. Let's straighten that right leg and then rebend it. So it's almost like you're moving in and out of this really odd triangle where your hand is on the big toe side of your foot and your feet are really far apart. Okay. The next time your knee is bent, go for your bind underneath that leg. And let's make it a sort of a loose bind. Instead of trying to hold your wrist or your forearm, let it just be the hands, because we're gonna, again, try to straighten the right leg and then bend the right leg. You could, if this is easy for you, you could hold the wrist or the forearm. It's just gonna be easier for you to straighten your leg if your bind is not so tight. But keep leaning that left shoulder back. Otherwise, it's too hard to feed your arm into your hand. Okay, the next time your knee is bent, let's untwist, lower the left knee down, and go for pigeon. Walk the right foot to the left. We're not going to stay here for very long, but let's go downward facing pigeon. So make a pillow with your hands or your forearms, drop your head. We're going to turn this into a simple twist again. We'll rise up. We'll negotiate that right foot to a lunge shape and lift the back knee. I'm going to face the other way just for now. Okay, so now let's walk that right foot back a bit and we'll spin onto the pinky toe edge of the left foot. We're keeping our hips up high. So the stretch for your right hip is akin to pigeon. It's also akin to your side plank. So feel free to stay here or grab hold of your big toe, first two fingers and thumbs of that right hand, and start to lift your right foot up. Kick with that right foot so your hips go up high. Stay for as long as you want, and then we'll meet in Hanuman Asana. So I'm going to bring that right leg forward. With my right arm, I'm going to lift the foot up so that I can land the foot at the top of the mat. So it seems like gravity is going to grab that leg, and it does, but your right hand sort of lets you get into it a little slower. Good. So your Hanuman could be upward facing with your shoulders over your hips, or like you did in your pigeon, you could go downward facing, and then you would just bring your head onto your right leg as your resting place. I like to wipe sweat on my pants. I don't understand people who wear the little shorts for yoga. There's no sweat control in little shorts. Okay, let's walk our hands in. We'll curl the back toes, lift the back knee. So you're in this like raised up lunge thing. And from there, just slide your right foot back to downward dog. Okay, we'll do all of that on the other side. Let's bring our left foot forward for your Parsvakonasana with the hand on the big toe side of the foot and the right arm up. So it's not Ashtanga Parsvakonasana, but there are people that do it this way. So we're trying to get into that left hip. Let's just straighten the left leg and rebend it. Just do that a few times. See if you can do that while continuously bringing your shoulders back. Okay, the next time your knee is bent, head for your bind. And once you can, you're going to again straighten and bend that left leg. And you'll notice that as you're straightening your leg, you're pushing your leg into your shoulder. We're not going to be doing Titivasana today, but that is something that you have to do in Titivasana or in Supta Kurmasana or in any foot behind the head type of thing. You have to push your leg into your shoulder because your shoulder has to sort of push back. Otherwise, it's too wiggly. Okay, let's unwind ourselves and turn it into your simple twist. And we'll walk that left foot back a little bit and get all 10 toes to face the left. And that left foot is pushing into the floor to get the hips up. Because otherwise this happens and the hips drop. If the hips drop, it is impossible to get this leg up off the ground. So you want to think hips up. And then if you choose to hold your toe and reach your foot up, you're still going to be thinking hips up. It'll make life much easier. And whenever you do want to take it into your Hanuman, you'll start to shift and you'll lift your leg to sort of escort it into its position. But either upward facing or downward facing. Oh, you know what? I think I forgot pigeon on this side. I did. I don't know where it came on the other sequence, but we didn't do it. So instead of exiting from Hanuman the same way as we did the other side, let's rock to the left hip so that we can just bend the left leg and do pigeon because I forgot to put it a few poses ago. Logically, it goes before we do that little side plank variation. Okay, and let's rise up. We'll step back, vinyasa. Let's bring the right foot forward, quarter turn to the left. For Prasarita A, hands between the heels, inhale and exhale to bring your head down. So if your head does touch the floor, we're just going to shift our weight more into the head so that you can get your feet off the ground. And once you get your feet off the ground, we're just going to bring our legs toward each other so that we're making an L shape. We have our legs parallel to the floor at about hip height. We can see our toes. So let's open the legs again and gradually drop the feet back to the floor. Inhale to lift the head, arms straight. Let's go hands to hips. Exhale and rise up. Inhale. We'll bring the heels in, toes out. Goddess pose. Let's start with the hands on the knees so that you can very easily push your knees back. This is like the laziest hip opener that there is. I'm going to say it's lazier than pigeon. Okay, so feel free to stay there or elbows to your inner knees, hands to your ankles. So it's the same kind of laziness, but it's deeper stretch. So maybe it's too much, you can decide. Okay, let's rise up, spin the heels out again. Prasaritas C. We're going to interlace the fingers. fingers behind the back, chest up. Inhale, arms straight, and fold, exhale. Woo, I folded too fast. It started to tip over. Now, once you get to the depth of your fold, lean to the left and roll your right shoulder back more. Then lean to the right and roll your left shoulder back. And try to get your hands an inch or so closer to the floor. Let's rise up for an inhale. Hands to the hips, exhale. Lift the chest, inhale. And we'll fold forward again. This time we're going to interlace our fingers and put the elbows down. That may not be possible. You just do your best. You can have your hands down there because they'll help you pull a little closer. If you can get your elbows down, you're going to try to also get your head down. If you can get your head down, you're going to get your legs up. So you enter now Baddha Hasta Sirsasana A. Now we'll do the same thing with the legs. We'll just bring them together. So you're in an L-shaped headstand. You can see your toes. We'll separate the legs again, and we'll slowly bring them back down to the floor. Hopefully they land on your mat. That's quite challenging. Let's release the grip. Straighten the arms for an inhale. Hands to the hips for an exhale. And rise up the rest of the way, inhale. That two-part rising up is so that you don't get dizzy. So there's literally a breath there. Okay, let's just come to the top of the mat. I am going to negotiate the Pincha. Okay, so we're going to do that Baddha Hasta again. This time we're going to lift up with our legs together and come down with our legs wide. Easy enough, right? So we'll start with our knees on the floor, elbows on the floor, interlace the fingers. And if you're not sure what I mean, feel free to look, but I think you guys got it. So when you lift up, it's two legs at once. They squeeze in toward each other as they rise. You'll take a breath whenever you think you're as vertical as you want to be. And then you'll start to separate your legs again. And eventually, they'll land on the ground. And when they do, you'll just straighten your arms and rest for a moment. Good. Okay. So we could go a little bit slower at the end. That's the only comment that I have. So now we're going to just reverse that. Let's put our elbows down again. We're going to lift them in a straddle. And once they're up, we're going to bring them together and come down with our two legs together, squeezing into each other. So there's no moment on the descent that your legs are disunified. They're always united. Good. And whenever you've had your descent complete, you can rest in child pose or kneeling or downward dog. Again, in just a moment. Okay, let's meet in downward dog. Let's rock forward to plank and lower down to the belly. Shalambhasana A. Arms by our sides, palms are facing up, and we lift the legs and the chest. Miss Anouk, are you okay? Something is happening with Anouk's screen. Maybe her volume went crazy. I don't know. No, she can hear me. She's responding. Okay, let's come on down. Hands under the chest. Inhale to upward facing. And exhale, downward facing. going to do the same exact headstand situation with the legs, but this time we'll do Baddha Hasta B. So what you did was A, now you're going to hold your elbows. Your forehead is going to be at your forearms. It's harder, of course. Don't kick. So here's the option if you tend to kick. I'm not going to come all the way up. I'm just going to walk my feet in, push into the elbows, lift the legs. If I fall from here, I land right on the floor nicely. It's only when you get up too high that you'll start to freak out. So maybe you just keep your toes in your view, and then you can open your legs and come down. So stay in a range that you can grasp it intellectually and emotionally. Good, and try to keep the legs moving as one unit. When you separate them, they're still moving as one unit because one has to move to the right equally to the other moving left. So they're always talking to each other. Nice. So when you get into your straddle, you can rest there as long as you want, and then you're going to have the return trip. So you'd lift your heels and you'd lift your legs. Or pushing into the elbows like mad. Good, and your hips will shift to compensate for the weight of your leg. So as you're coming down, just acknowledge that's going to happen. Good. Okay, when you're ready, we'll meet in downward dog again. Take out your head and neck. Let's rock forward to plank and come down to the belly. Shalambhasana B. So the hands will slide back a little more by the waist. And again, we'll lift the chest and legs. So the body position is the same as what you already had. This is another one of those positions where folks tend to have their elbows far away, but instead, squeeze your elbows in, push your thumb and pointer finger down, and use that to help you drag yourself a little bit forward. Good. And let's come on down, slide the hands forward a couple of inches, and curl into your upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. So hopefully you feel your hamstrings work when you're in those Shalambhasana poses. And then when you get to down dog, it's a bit of a relief because it's a little stretch. Okay, let's come down onto hands and knees. So the next Baddha Hasta is C position. That is where the hands are flat and the palms are down. The arms are parallel to each other. So it looks like that. Yes, the camera picks that up. Good. So we'll do that with the same legs that you've already done. And if this freaks you out, either go real small, like what I showed you before, or put a wall behind you, but not a wall that you're really going to use, just a wall that's going to help sort of ease your anxieties. Because all it could do is catch us. It can't get us anywhere. Good. So when you do wind up in your straddle, you might want to rest before you return, or you might feel like if you rest, you'll never start again, and then you can just go back up. So just so you know, these are placed at the very end of second series. So this is intended to be after you are proficient in Pinchamaerosa, Urdhvadanyarasana, really everything, Backbends, foot behind the head, everything that is hard about second comes before this. So if you're thinking these are hard, you are correct. And you are justified in thinking so. All right, let's return to downward dog. We'll rock forward to plank and lower to the belly. Or Shalambhasana C, which is not really a pose, but it is in Encinitas because Tim Miller says it is. So let's interlace the fingers behind the back. Reach the knuckles back, lift the legs up. So we're anchoring our pubic bone into the floor. And we're using that low belly and like the mula as our anchor. Everything else reaches away from that. Good, and let's come on down, hands under the shoulders. And you're gonna use your feet here to propel you into your upward facing. So the logistics are really in the ankle to get you into a nice place for upward facing. Because you don't want your shoulders too far forward in upward facing or it's super uncomfortable. If you ever find that your shoulders are too far forward, just adjust your feet. Step them back or slide them or roll them. Okay, let's come down onto our knees again. We have one more Baddha Hasta. And then we get to say, ya basta, which means enough already. Okay, so this last one, this is D position. You'd measure out your elbows and you put your hands on your shoulders. So the only thing on the floor is your head and your elbows. It's not as bad as it seems like it would be. Your head placement is the same as in your A position. So you could interlace your fingers, get your head where you want it, and then move your hands up to your shoulders. I can't talk and do that at the same time. So there's nothing wrong with your volume. I just wasn't talking. That one really shows you how important it is to even out the right and left sides.
C and D are almost impossible for me to get up from the straddle.
Yeah. And it's for the same reason that getting up into Pincha from a straddle is hard. There's like a leaning forward thing that requires a lot of the shoulders. Yeah, I hear you. I wish there was an easy little trick, bippity boppity boo, but there's none. Okay, let's come into downward dog again. And rock forward to plank. Exhale all the way to the ground. We'll prop ourselves up in Sphinx. So elbows slightly in front of your shoulders, maybe an inch or so, because that's the same kind of concept as if your shoulders are too far forward in upward facing dog. So let's just experiment with that for a sec, just so those of you who do it in up dog know what I mean. Let's put the elbows back a little bit. And you see how now you're leaning forward? And it's kind of like impossible to get your chest up. So that's the correction that you have to make in upward facing dog. You have to give yourself more space. So now that your elbows, if you move them in front of your shoulders, it's so much better. So same deal in your upward facing, you have to find a placement that you can live with. Okay, let's cross our right forearm in front of us and reach the left hand back for the left foot, bhekasana grip. And we're going to keep pushing this right hand into the floor so that we feel like our chest is moving up, away from the ground. It's real tempting to kind of sink, but we're going to try not to. We can sink later. We only have like 30 more minutes of not sinking. And then you can sink into your couch and stay there for the whole day if you want. And in Poland, where Aga is, it's nighttime, so she gets to sink in a better way than us. All right, let's change sides. Left forearm is going to go parallel to the top edge of the mat. Right hand back. If you need to twist in order to get your grip, no problem. But then you're going to try to square up again, and you want your right hip as close to the floor as your left hip. Good. And let's slowly get out of there. We'll bring our forearms to Sphinx again, curl the toes, and hoist up the hips so you're just in forearm plank. And you can bring your feet together or you can keep them hips width. I don't think it really matters. You might find a teacher that cares. I got bigger fish to fry than your feet in this pose. Okay, walk the feet in, down dog B. Push your chest closer to your thighs. And you're literally pushing with your fingers. Let's turn this into Anahathasana. We'll put the knees on the floor and walk the knees back until either your forehead is on the floor or your chin and you look forward, or your chest. And while you're here, draw your belly in and squeeze your sitting bones toward one another. It's real easy to forget about your bandhas in this pose and in basically every back bend. Good. And let's slowly unwind ourselves and let's just meet in a normal downward dog for a moment. Shake out your head, your shoulders loose. Okay, we'll jump through and have a seat. Urdhvadanyarasana number 1. So we're going to insert Urdhva throughout a few of the next poses. So maybe you want to start with your hands on your chest. Breathe into that spot 2 inches below your hands. When you can, place your palms flat and rise up. You could also put your hands on the baseboard or on blocks. Good. And let's come on down. Let's bring the knees in. We're going to hold on the hamstrings. We'll lift the head and we'll just start to rock forward and back. So basically undoing the back bend that you just did, just giving your spine a little massage. And let's rock up to sitting. Hold on to the ankles and pull the knees in toward the shoulders. So again, you're in a rounded shape, which you need to be in to get your feet back into a vinyasa. So let's place the hands down, lean forward, lift your butt, swing your feet through, and come back the rest of the way. Good. Complete your vinyasa or the step into downward dog. Okay, so that was Urdhvadanyarasana round one. Let's go for Pinchamaerosa before we do a round two. So this time, instead of working on lifting with two legs at once, we're going to work on a scissor situation. So I'll step one foot in, I'll lift the other one up, I'll let my legs change space in the air and lower that other foot. And then I'll do the other side so that we're not favoring only one. So that's it, just alternate at your pace. And it's going to be as much an effort in your top leg reaching as in your bottom leg pushing. If you prefer to do this from headstand or handstand, feel free. It's kind of the same rules. Miss Anouk, before you kick, push your chest closer to your legs. You just got to open up this part a little more first. Otherwise, it's too hard to get the legs up. Good. And just like your straddle situations, your legs have to talk to each other. They're not independent. Even though they look like they're on their own, they are not on their own. Okay, let's come on down and we'll go on our backs for Urdhvadanyarasana round two. Before we lift up, let's peek around our feet. So literally lean to the right and check that the edge of your foot is parallel to the edge of your mat. Then lean to the left and do the same on that side. Because most of the time our feet are all jacked up and we don't even know. Okay, when you can, hands by your shoulders, lift up. Good. And come on down. And we'll do the same little sitting up situation. So hands under the thighs and just rock and roll a little bit because we need to get our back muscles to sort of relax. They just worked really hard to bend us. So eventually we're sitting and then we can hold the feet and we want to try to get our knees pretty close to our shoulders. But here's one little detail. If your knees are wide, when you go to jump through, you're going to get stuck. So squeeze them in also to each other, which is not a comfortable situation, I know. Okay, hands by your butt, but not actually by your butt, in front of your butt. So your arms are straight. And lean, lift, and swing through. Good, and let's jump forward onto the shins. And we're just going to do Ustrasana with our toes tucked. The friendly Ustrasana. Let's start with one hand on the pubic bone and one hand on the tailbone. And we're going to push the tailbone down toward the floor, lift the pubic bone up toward the ceiling. So instead of being here, well, I'm exaggerating this, we're never here really. But instead of being here, you're going to tuck under. And from there, you can lift your chest up. And you can either keep your hands for support or hands to your heels. Drop your head back. Your trapezius muscles will make like a little pillow for your head. Let's rise up and just kneel for a moment. Let the blood flow. So we'll do another Pinchamaerosa thing, but we're going to try to come down with a straddle. We'll get up however we can. But here's the trick. In Pincha, you're looking forward. When you come down into a straddle, you can't look so far forward. So in Pincha, if your eyes are going here between your thumbs, now you're going to bring your eyes between your elbows. So give it a try. If it doesn't work, you might just try again with a different gaze point. You could also do it with your head on the floor if you prefer. But you have to take that back bend away from the pose in order to land in a straddle. So look elbows or even more kind of down the mat. Good.
Is this the same hip tuck as in Ustrasana? We want this action rather than this?
Let me think about that. You won't really have to think about the pelvis so much, but you are going to have to round your back. So yes, it is the same kind of thing because we need this part of us to get shorter. We need to bring our rib bones toward our hip bones. And the only way to get this shorter is to tuck the pelvis under.
Okay.
So it helps you to think of it as that you can. For me, when I'm upside down, I can't think about the pelvis. I think about rounding the back, sort of like making more of this shape. So let's try that again using Carrie's concepts. Remember how when you're in headstand and you're trying to get your feet to land on your mat, how you have to round your back. So it's that kind of thing, but with your head off the ground, it's very hard. So maybe go for more like a Asana so that it more resembles your headstand shape. And I tried to pretend someone was punching me in the gut just now so that the ribs would tuck in. Lisa, that's better than it was the first round.
Gravity is very strong for the second half.
It is, man, it is. Until we die and we're no longer physically embodied, gravity's a bitch. Okay, let's go for Urdhvadanyarasana again. So as you get comfy in your Urdhvadanyarasana, you're going to try to get your feet and your hands a little bit closer together. You'll try to get your arms a little bit straighter. Good. Let's come on down. Hold on to the hamstrings. Use your abdominals to help you rock, but also push your legs into your hands, just like you would in those primary series poses where you have to rock up. You push your legs forward. And let's jump back, vinyasa. Okay, we'll come forward onto the knees again. So we're going to take Ustrasana and turn it into Urdhvadanyarasana, which we've done before at some point in time. Option would be to repeat like this, or just reach back for a wall. But I don't have a wall, so I'm gonna reach back. I'm gonna show you what this looks like. I'll let my head go. Push into the feet in order to get caught by my arms. Then when I want to return, I'll walk my feet in a little bit. Then I'll bring my knees down and push the hips forward. So the coming forward again is very much like Urdhva Dhanurasana, which I know y'all love. So give it a try, and then let's see if there's anything I can say. Oh, Anouk is saying, hell no, I ain't going back. But Anouk, if you put your hands on the wall and push, that'll be really good. Come on, Lisa, butt up. Lisa, that day that we did Lagu like 100 times, I couldn't have comfort in my thighs for like 5 days after. It was so hard. Okay, so the good news is we get to try that again. So if you're struggling with it, really the peace comes from here, which will please Carrie because she likes to think about pelvis position. So the whole time I'm thinking tailbone down, and that's going to actually translate to like down and forward, almost like my tailbone is moving through my leg. That is the same thing I would do in Lagu, which is this. So you could practice Lagu if you want. Just in Lagu, you're not going to get this armpit opening. So it's kind of like you're getting part of it, but not necessarily the whole thing. So you decide which thing you work on. And the entire time, you're going to be moving your pubic bone forward. Even though, yes, it is moving backwards into your back bend, you're always thinking up. And the strength requirement for your quads is enormous. Not gonna lie. Did you try it again, Lisa? Did I miss it? Oh, did it work? Oh, it didn't work. Okay. If I was in the room with you and I put my hands here, I could give you the smallest of nudge and it would work. You just have to feel that piece. Okay. One day when we're all in a room together. Okay, so let's just go to down dog and relax for a second. And let's go for scorpion, knees down, elbows down. So now we're going to do back bend in our pincha as much as we feel comfortable doing. I see folks trying to get their toes to their heads, not you guys, but folks who want like a good Instagram picture. They don't even care about getting the balance. They just want their teacher to get their toes to their head. That is pointless. So find your balance and then find your pelvic tilt, just like in your Ustrasana. And you just go as far into it as you feel comfortable in your shoulders, your back, and your balance. Good. Okay. So when you're out of there, find your relaxing place, your happy place, and we'll just meet in a downward dog again. Let's bring our right knee between our hands. We're going for Bhekasana. So right knee forward, and then the left leg is going to slide under. We'll get the feet next to each other. ish, and all the toes are facing back. So there's no ankle bend. Your toes just go back, your knees go forward. Simple, simple. Let's interlace the fingers underneath the right knee. And Miss Aga, I think your feet are out to the side and your butt is on the ground. Instead, you're gonna try to have your feet together. Let me show you from the back, so that you're sitting on your heel. Yeah. And this is just the Ashtanga form of Bhekasana. So you could make a decision to do a different version. I just want you to know what's the difference. Okay, B position. Right arm up, left arm under. So we have different rotations going on here in the arms. You don't really have to know the wording of what's happening. Your body will take care of that for you. You can hold your fingers or a strap or your t-shirt. Push your head into your arm. Good, and let's get out of there. And we'll just change sides. You can just step to down dog or something like it, and then bring the left knee forward. So the knee is centered on the mat. It's not like pigeon where the knee's out to the side. I cross the thigh as high up as possible. That little pooch of fat at the top of the thigh needs to sort of cross the other pooch. And we'll interlace fingers underneath the left knee. And notice to do that, you have to lean forward. Then the hard part is we're going to try to lift the chest and draw the shoulders down the back. This is one of many poses that you should probably look on social media for what it's supposed to look like, because I'm only doing my best, which is not really a textbook version. Okay, B position. Right arm under. So the right elbow faces down, left elbow up. Tuck the lowest ribs in. And let's get out of there and vinyasa. I just wanted you to do that in your shoulders before we did Viparita Dandasana, which we will do now. So we'll come through and have a seat. And then lay down. And I'm going to do it facing this way in case that view helps. So it'll start the same as Urdhva. And then remember I said something about elbows earlier in your forward bends? It's the same deal here. People want to do this. That out to the side elbow thing is not going to help you. So squeeze your elbows in just like you did in your forward bends in your Surya Namaskars. Then walk your hands toward your feet so that your elbows come onto the floor. Then you can lift your head and start to look toward your fingers. I can see on one side that I have a hand and a foot, and on the other side, no. Take another breath or two. I want to see what is going on. Oh, that looks good. Yes, Lisa, power up those legs another little bit. Good. Okay, let's come on out. The out would be placing the palms flat again, lifting to Urdhva, and then coming down. Good. Then you get no weird neck situation. Okay, let's meet in downward dog again. You can choreograph how you get there. We're going to do one more hard thing, and that'll be, then it's all downhill. So this next thing, you can sort of modify in any way that suits you, including repeating something that we've already done. We're going to just do scorpion into Viparita Dandasana. Another nice way, I'm just moving my computer in case I fall. Instead of scorpion, which would be palms flat, you could also go headstand. That's going to be easier. If you have tight shoulders, go headstand. Okay, so I would recommend starting near the back of your mat because you definitely want your feet to land on your mat. If your feet land on the wood or on the carpet, it's going to be real precarious. And I have a bookshelf here, so I'm going to lift up in kind of an odd way, but okay, cleared the bookshelf. So we would bring it into whatever our version of scorpion is. I'm not very backbendy, so you know that's about as far as I go. Then I'm gonna drop my head so that my ears go between my arms, and I'll let my feet come to the floor. And I land with a thud because of my lack of control, but I landed. And I'm in the same place we were a few minutes ago. We just got there a different way. And it feels really good. So give it a try if you want. Or do something else. And I'm going to watch you and yell. So Miss Carrie, we know you can land those toes on that couch. Let's turn you the other direction and see what happens on the floor. That was the most funny look. Carrie hates me right now, you guys. Basically did a flip. Okie doke. You okay? Thumbs up. All right, good. So let's meet sitting on our butts. If you have just arrived to be at the end of your pose, take a vinyasa first. Because some folks have been done for a hot minute, so they got to sort of rest. Okay, and then we'll meet on our butts for Parigasana. The right leg out straight, left leg will fold back, Virasana style, 90 degrees between the thighs. And we already did some side bends earlier. Let's start with the same situation. Right hand to left forearm, pull your left arm up and start to tilt over just a little bit. And just notice how your tendency, and everyone else's, is to sort of fold forward and be down facing. So see if you can rotate and get your left elbow back and then pull over a little bit further. If this right leg can be really strong, you can even escort your left hand all the way to your foot. That's going to require this right calf muscle pushing into the floor, because otherwise when you go over, it will be too messy. The leg has to be your anchor. And then adjust your hands however you want for your full pose. Okay, and let's rise up. We'll just change sides. If you don't quite believe me about this straight leg being strong, let it be weak for a minute and just see what happens. You never have to take what I say as truth. I'm just saying my truth. So now we'll have left hand on right forearm. We pull that right arm up and over. So I know that I tend to lean forward. We're all human, so you probably do too. Your right hip will lift in this pose. Don't try to keep it down. Let it go up as your hand comes over. Sort of like in some of the Marichasanas, your hip is going to lift. So take whatever you think is a version of this pose that would help you stretch through the muscles that go between your ribs. Okay, and let's use an inhale to rise up. Let's bring both legs out to a V shape. And if you have a tight space, you might have to turn sideways. So in the V, it's not going to be super wide. It's not Samakanasana. We're going to hold the edges of our feet. If your legs are too wide, you're not going to be able to hold your feet. They're just going to be too far away. So that's how you'll know where to put your feet. And let's push our feet into our hands. So the edge of the foot is literally karate chopping back into the hand. Rise up. We'll bring the legs together. You decide if they're straight or bent. We're going to again hold the edges of the feet. And we'll pull the pinky toe edge back toward us. We'll push the ball of the foot forward. So the ankle and the foot is very sturdy. You can drop your head onto your chin. Or you could put a block on your shins if the distance is too big. Okay, let's rise up. Take whatever last pose you need. I'm going to go for a lotus with a wrap and a fold, which is just sort of a traditional end in an Ashtanga thing. And I like it because it's sort of all contained. It's very small. So you get to kind of curl back in on yourself somewhat. So if you are taking that, it's lotus is right leg first, then left leg. And the wrapping part would be left arm first and then right arm. And it does take a little bit of like a swing of that arm. And I'm going to show you from behind where it's crossed. Let me see if that is good. Okay, so I have the toes dangling over the thighs just a bit. I bring that left arm back. And then the right arm back. And you see how it's sort of like near the elbows that they cross. Super comfy. So whenever you're ready for Shavasana, just undo whatever you've done and lay back. You might want to put your hands on your chest for a few breaths. I'm going big. I'm putting a towel over my eyes. With the eyes closed, find your way to sitting. We'll just bring the hands together and fold forward any amount. Namaste.